Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hood, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Yeah, host, the Hood, welcome back to the Baseball Hood. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. This video is going up after the Mets game against the Red Sox. Mets are in Boston this week. And then I guess they're going to be playing the Dodgers at the end of the week. Big week. The schedule's getting a little bit harder now. So the Mets played the Yankees this weekend. And Juan Soto didn't have a good series. I think we can all agree on that. But the media has come out and forced today with all this garbage, which doesn't surprise me. Because if you don't like genuflect for the so-called sacrosanct media, the lying scum they are, then they will rip into you. And we know from experience as Met fans, we don't want to talk about, but the media really rip into the Mets. Every little thing the Mets do is wrong. And even when it's right, it's still wrong. They sign Juan Soto, it's wrong. Now we're getting this new story coming out saying that Juan, he didn't really want to be with the Mets. He wanted to sign with the Yankees, but his family made it. I mean, come on. I mean, some of the things that were being said online, that he was binary, he was gay. That's why he's not getting along with his teammates. It's a bunch of crap. And in this story about Aaron Judge tried his best to get Juan Soto back. When I did a story back, I did a video on him on Horseface saying that he never talked to Juan before he signed with the Mets. He didn't talk to him all offseason. Now, I've said this many times. It is harder to be a New York Met in this town than it is to be a New York Yankee, because the media attack the Mets at all costs. Because like I said, their mantra is simple. Whatever the Mets do is wrong, and even when it's right, it's still wrong. We know that they've gone after the Mets first baseman, Pete Alonso. We know that they've gone after many players in the past. We know that they ripped into Carlos Beltran hard. There have been many instances over the last 30, 40 years where they've done this. And now we have Bob Clappish, who is a classic Met hater. I want to mention John Boy, another Met hater, is still pissed off that the Yankees lost the World Series. Didn't get to the World Series in 2017. He's still mad about that, even though he built his whole life around, deciphering all these garbage cans, which nobody got punished for it. By the way, he's the one person that benefited the most from all that. But one of the biggest Met haters of all time, along with his former partner, John Harper, is Bob Clappish, who is one of the biggest Mets haters and one of the biggest disruptors when it comes to the New York Mets in the media in this part of the country. And I guess he put an article out, I guess from NewJersey.com. There's no worse media guy than this guy. Because this was a guy that hung out with the 86 Mets, partied with them, had a grand old time in the 80s. And then when those guys started getting moved, started getting traded, he got bitter. And then when the 90s Mets came along, and they were in a great group of guys, told him to pound sand, he and his buddy John Harper wrote that disgusting book, The Worst Team Money Could Buy, which is a joke. That book was a joke, and they're jokers writers. But he's now going after Juan Soto because Soto had the audacity to tell the media this past weekend to pound sand, because he's getting tired of being criticized so heavily being here with the Mets that he wrote this hit piece. Quote, the second was Soto's conduct after the Mets 8-2 loss. Not only was he held hitless, but the signature swag had vanished. Soto's bat seemed slow, and more surprisingly, he's put on a few pounds around the middle, so they're already personally attacking him. Never forget, the media is part of the big media. I'm sorry to bring politics up, but they are. And they lie. They're scumbags, okay? This thing about him, he really wanted to be a Yankee, but his family convinced him not. No. That's nonsense. He's a grown man. He'll do what he needs to do for himself. Just as Soto turned his back on ESPN, he did the same to reporters who were waiting to speak to him in the post-game clubhouse. Now, Soto was going to be mic'd up during the game. Another Mets hater, Buster Only, put out a tweet on X, a post on X, saying that they were going to ask him about Aaron Judge during the game. Okay? And the way it was worded, I would be insulted by the way it was worded. Okay? So I think he kind of realized, he's like, I don't want to deal with this guy. And this guy's a known Met hater. This is a guy who about a year and a half ago said the Mets weren't going to go anywhere as a team. They were going to be bad for the next 10 years. So this guy is another guy who has a history of just completely hating on the Mets. We know there's so many out there. Chris Russo has declared himself a Met hater after being a Met hater for 40 years. Let me go back to this. Just as Soto turned his back on ESPN, he did the same to the reporters who were waiting to speak to him in the post-game clubhouse. Soto got dressed and began walking towards the door. He told a Mets official he'd be back to answer questions after seeing family members outside. Soto never returned. I don't blame him. They probably told him, why go back and deal with these assholes? That's not the same stand-up guy who was always at his locker last season. Even after being skewed on Friday, Soto spoke of the obligation to take it like a man. 2 days later, he was running for the exit. See, this is, and again, Bob Klapisch has a history of if you don't talk to him, he gets all twisted. I mean, just tell him to pound sand, go F yourself, fuck yourself. That's what Trump does. And go on friendly places. Get your story out there. That's what Soto should do. Go on to one of those Spanish-speaking reporters that's friendly with him and talk to them. Oh, you don't have to talk to these people. The fuck are they? They're nobodies. They're just going to cause trouble. They're just going to do nothing but cause trouble. These are troubling signs for the Mets hierarchy. I'm told they're concerned about Soto's lack of enthusiasm for his new team. The only time Soto seemed happy this weekend was while he interacted with Judge, manager Aaron Boone, and second baseman Jazz Chisholm during batting practice. Now, what's interesting about Chisholm is the reason supposedly he left is because there were problems in the clubhouse with Chisholm and Soto. Soto did not like being around him. Did not like being around him and Alex Verdugo. So all of this is nonsense to what's going on. And you don't have to talk to the media. You don't have to. Okay? But the problem is when you don't talk to these assholes, okay, they don't forget it. And then when you're ready to go to the Hall of Fame, they don't vote for it. Well, they just ask Carlos Delgado. Great first baseman, great RBI man. Never got a sniff in the Hall of Fame. Albert Bell, one of the great right-handed hitters of the last 35 years. Never hear about his chance to get into the Hall of Fame. But guys like David Ortiz basically told them to go F themselves to their face. That he'll do stuff to them. And, of course, is in the media now, this sort of wonderful person, sort of people forget about that. Especially when he got caught with the steroids, along with A-Rod. But, like I said, at the beginning of this video, whatever the Mets do is wrong, according to the media. Whatever the Mets do is wrong. Whatever they do is wrong. When they do it right, it's always wrong. Don't ever forget that. It's the most important message I could send to you on social media. That's how the media is. And you don't have to, if you're a player, you don't have to talk to these people. Go to places that are friendly to you. Talk to your host. Talk to me. Come and, write to me at some point. I'll have you on the show. We'll have a great conversation. We'll yuck it up. You don't have to go on WFAN. You don't have to talk to any member of this media. Okay? None of them. Okay? You don't have to. You don't have to. Why? So they could talk garbage and say the same and ask you the same stupid. If I had Juan Soto on this show, you know what I'd ask him? How is he treated differently by the mass media in New York? I guarantee you he'll tell you, I'm being heavily criticized, much more criticized than I was when I was with the Yankees. Now, the host didn't pay attention to what was going on over in the Bronx last year, but he had a tough August, from what I understand. He's hit 200. He didn't have a good August. You didn't hear about it. I haven't heard about it. I didn't hear about it, that he was struggling. The only reason this is a big deal is because it's the beginning of his time here. And what are Met fans going to do if he has a bad year, like he did in 2022 by his standards, but then has a big hit in September or has a big hit in October? That could happen. This is a great player. He's gonna find it. But he's gotten off the slow start. It happens. And there's a lot of pressure here. Only 3 players have ever come here as a New York Met and got off the ground running. Gary Carter, Carlos Delgado, and Yoenis Cespedes. He's the norm around here of struggling. He's up there with Mike Piazza and Carlos Beltran. It took Mike Piazza 3 months to get going. It might take him to the middle of the season to get going. What's the media going to do that? We're going to try to run him out of town? He ain't going anywhere. He's going to outlast you guys long before you're gone, a lot of yous. He's not going anywhere, okay? And again, players don't have to talk to these assholes. The teams don't have to talk to them. They could just ban them completely. Why do you need the media? Why? I mean, really. And here's the thing about the Mets: they have their own broad network. They don't have to talk to these idiots. You have to talk to the New York Daily News? No. You have to talk to the NewJersey.com? No. You have to talk to ESPN? No. You have to talk to the New York Post? No. You don't need beat writers. You have the fans on social media following the team. We follow everything that goes on there. You don't need these assholes. You don't need these people on in the old media. Well, Bob Clapper said, well, fuck him. That cockeyed, pop-eyed, asshole. Who the hell cares? And that wrinkled up little prune, John Harper. Who the hell cares at this point? Mets don't need them. If you're a baseball team or any kind of team, you don't need the media at any point anymore. All you got to do, and specifically the Mets, they have their own network. They have the radio station that they broadcast the team's games on. You don't have to interact with WFAN. You don't have to interact with anybody. You don't have to interact with anybody. So who cares what they think? This is what makes it difficult for players to play for the Mets, is having to deal with this nonsense and making up stuff because they heard from this one. Well, who'd you hear from? Where'd you hear this stuff from? Put it out there. Don't make up bullshit stories. Put it out there. I would have every player on here. We would have a fun time, and we would talk about different things that has nothing to do with the day-to-day stuff. If I had this guy on my show, I'd say to him, how do they treat you differently now than they did the year before? I guarantee he'll tell you they treat me very differently. And guarantee, if I had Carlos Beltran, I would ask him the same thing because he played for the Yankees after he was with the Mets. I guarantee he'd say the same thing. And we all know that. This annoys me because I knew this was going to happen if he didn't get off to a fast start. That the media was going to really. I mean, this is a personal attack to attack his appearance. This is a personal attack from a very angry reporter because this guy's been bitter since the 90s because he didn't get a chance to hang out with the Mets in the 90s like he was, drinking and gallivanting around with the Mets of the 86 team. Got that out of my system. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Island. You only get this stuff here. Nobody else does this anywhere else. And I will rip into anybody. And I have a long memory. I've been around a long time. I know all these people. I know them all. I've been observing them since I was a little tiny little hut. So, thank you for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.